Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will be casting today the second part of the TLS. Now, for those of you who don't know, we casted already the first part, but we had still some games left from the round of 32 that we didn't manage to cast, and we will be doing them today. Unfortunately, as you can see, we will not be using webcams today. We are having a little bit of a technical problems here, so we're only going to be using the TLS main screen as well as the cast in-game. And with me today, I'm Caspo, and is going to be joining me, Vodi.
Yes, hello everybody.
Okay, so just in case we have any problems with the sound, if anybody can tell us when we are in-game, if somebody should be a little bit louder or a little bit quieter, just let us know so we can fix that out. So, how do you feel about how things have been going, Vodi, since in the round of 32?
Well, I'm very excited for this tournament, because I'm not really certain who's going to win. Obviously, we have Two Ducks, who's a contender. We got Ian Zerg. But, they're looking human. They're looking beatable. So, there are many, underdogs, so to speak, who are preparing for upsets.
Yeah.
And it's hard to decide who's going to win.
I mean, definitely there is some potential. We have seen that many players who maybe weren't expected to even get to the round of 32 actually managed to get there. So we definitely have some interesting plays. We will start today with Bonyth versus Dewalt. So it's going to be a PvP. And I guess that I will refer a little bit more to your expertise, Vodi, since you have very good knowledge basically about Protoss, but PvP I think also as well. So that's always good for me. And before we start, also I would like to thank again our sponsors, Brain, especially for organizing this possibility, giving us the money to do this tournament. It's something we couldn't have done pretty much without him. And of course, thanks to Tupacalypse for helping organize everything here, always being here to help. With the streaming helps a lot. And everybody who's been watching the replays to make sure that we have what we need to get things started. So, okay, so let's then just jump into it, and we'll be starting with game number 1 on Electric Circuit.
Of course, this map is a map that many Protoss players whine on. They whine that it's Zerg favored. Some even whine that it's Terran favored. But this is a PvP, so none of those excuses can apply here. We've got the Dewalt at the top right as the yellow Protoss, and Bonyth as the orange Protoss at the bottom right.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a map that doesn't have any ramps, so that definitely plays a little bit differently in PvP. But I think the distances are relatively large, considering different other maps that are usually played. So
it's a very big map.
Yes. What do you think is normally the most safest, or basically the most standard opening in PvP in this kind of map?
Well, it's basically good old standard PvP, like any other map, with two main exceptions, as far as build orders go. First of all, there's no ramp, which obviously means, Free Gate Dragoon is going to punish a lot of stuff that it wouldn't otherwise. But moreover than that, it means it's easier to scout. It's easier to get a probe into your opponent's base. So, builds like fast DT, DT, Cannon Expand, are much weaker on this map, because there's no ramp, so you're going to die to Dragoons early. And you can get scouted easily with a probe. And so, that basically means that you're going to see a lot more Mass Dragoon, a lot more Dragoon Reaver, just starting out with either pure Gateway or Gateway Robotics, because going fast DTs generally isn't as good on this map.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Now, how do you feel about the temples that basically we've seen already in a few games, that these, side disruptors basically, they do tend to screw up a little bit the pathing, especially if you're trying to reinforce very fast and you don't keep track of your units. But apart from that, I mean, is there anything that really is difficult? Because you can obviously get to the third and scout, maybe, if you manage to jump probe through there. But as I mentioned, the map is pretty open, and in PvP, probably that won't play that big of a deal.
Temples in this matchup are basically they're another thing that a player who's ahead can use. So if you have map control, if you have a slightly better army than your opponent, you can knock down the temples with a Reaver or an Archon, and you can just send in a few units to be annoying, to the backline, while you poke at the front. Of course, that only works if you have the superior army, if you have the map control, but it's a thing to use if you are ahead, if you have map control, basically.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty smart. I mean, I guess that's better than trying to brute force your way through a choke that you probably won't get a good engagement through. But yeah.
You know, it's just another option to use. It's good in some situations. The only matchup it really doesn't matter is in DBZ, but temples in general, they allow you to, later on in the game, attack multi-pronged into the main base of the opponent.
One thing I've noticed, both players seem to have started at I mean, making at least one zealot. In a map this big, I understand that if you do get something like Matter Pylon, then obviously the zealot is good since it has more DPS than the Dragoon. But apart from that, do you really want to get that relatively early zealot, or you want to try to go for something more Dragoon heavy?
Yeah, getting the zealot early is totally fine. It's a lot of people feel that they're slightly disadvantaged versus a player who skips the zealot when they go one zealot. But it's really not a big deal because it's like you have one Dragoon less for a while. You get faster tech because you save the gas. So it's okay, really. Like, you just gotta learn to deal with the first timing with Dragoons can be a little tricky, but other than that, the first zealot is okay. But the reason people do it is that if they go 2-gate and you don't get that zealot, and they mana pot on you, you're dead.
No, okay.
So people get one zealot for safety. And it's okay, really. Now, interestingly enough, Dewalt did go for 2 zealots, which I'm not so sure about. But he may have done it because he didn't know that it wasn't a proxy 2-gate in the middle. You know, he wasn't certain, so...
Yes, he scouted...
go for it.
He has a very late scout, although it will get actually in the base.
He did scout in the wrong direction, so he finally got in now, and he saw the 2 gateways of his opponents. He's going to counter with 3 gateway Dragoon in his own base.
Yeah, I mean, he does get a very good scout considering how late the probe gets in.
Right. Yeah, he got in just before those Dragoons came out, so now he knows that it's not like some cheesy ET. He knows that it's 2-gate Goon, and so he's going for 4-gate Dragoon, actually. Now that he knows that DETs aren't an option, that's what he's going for.
Yeah, actually, I think is that something like you would normally do, because it feels really not, I wouldn't say safe because it's not to be very aggressive, but it does make a lot of sense, right? If you do scout this kind of build.
It is definitely an okay option on this map. The more economic option is 3-gate, which you can expand after. 4-gate's a little bit more all-in, a little bit more cheesy. But you know, you can try to take control, contain your opponent, and then expand. We have a 2-gate expand for Bonyth, which I don't like, and I think it's disadvantaged against 4-gate. Moreover, I think it's just not a good build. I mean, it's probably going to lose to a 2-gate Reaver push. It's probably going to lose to a 3-gate Dragoon push.
And even
he's just cutting Dragoons like crazy.
DTs, I mean, you could die to very fast DTs. I mean, obviously your Bonyth is pushing now, so he would at least have that information.
Right, yeah, so he would. I mean, DTs on this map, you can basically beat them with a Dragoon push like he's doing now, poke at the front. But this is dangerous for him. We got more Dragoons coming out from the Dewalt, and he's going to be outnumbered here, and he's going to have to run, losing one Dragoon.
Yeah, and he sees 5 Dragoons, and 1 was killed, so that should at least tip him off that this was a heavy gateway build, right? But can he actually stop this? He would have to... shield battery?
He doesn't even have a pylon at his expansion. Yeah. This is bad for him. This is really bad. He doesn't even have robotics done. It's 2 gateways and 4. I don't know, man. 2 Dragoons join the fray now, so it is 5 Dragoons versus 5 Dragoons and 2 Zealots. And he actually cancels his expansion. So good game sense for him. Goes for the robotics support bay to get the Reaver. And if he can just hold on and get those Reavers out, he can still be in this game.
I think he should be able to hold on relatively well. I mean...
Yes. With Defender's advantage, he may indeed be able to survive it. That's a decent micro here on the Dewalt.
Yeah.
Pulling back the Dragoon. But really, he doesn't need to press the advantage here. He doesn't need to go all in. He can just camp, contain his opponent, snipe these pylons and expand and get Weavers on his own.
And it actually
looks like he is trying to go all in. He's continuing Dragoon production, he's continuing to attack.
Oh, that's not a good move.
Oh, with the Dewalt taking a little damage here. Bonyth coming out, using the timing during which he had more Dragoons because of Defender's advantage, and getting a favorable engagement there, I would say.
And the Reaver is coming out, so unless these Dragoons die off and there is nothing to support completely the Reaver...
We'll get another wave of Dragoons on the way, though.
Yeah, but there's still a pylon, right? So as long as you defend the pylon and the Reaver is out...
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna hold there, and I really think the Dewalt should have expanded behind this.
Yeah.
You know, he had a good ability, cancel the expansion. When you cancel the expansion, you should immediately expand yourself, because that's when you know you're stronger than your opponent.
Yeah.
He can't do anything about it, so just get that advantage, you know, play safe. When you're ahead, get more ahead. Don't take any risks.
Yeah, so we still have the 4 gateways, although right now it seems like... Yeah, they're still producing constantly, so it seems like Dewalt really wants to keep this attack going, even if there's the Reaver's out. Now, once the second Reaver is out...
Yeah, that's gonna be lights up.
Yeah, and if there is a pylon even in the front of the natural, then I think it completely stops this build dead in its tracks.
Yeah, once you get the Reavers out, the opponent really basically needs to get Reavers of his own, unless he's got a lot of money and he can go Templars, obviously. So we have an expansion finally, but it's the inside mineral only expansion from Dewalt, which is not ideal, obviously.
Yeah, it seems Bonyth might be doing the same thing. Okay, so far it's only a pylon. But with 2 Reavers out, and even the Observer, especially if the Observer goes to Dewalt's base and scouts everything, I think that Bonyth might be the one trying to put the pressure up.
Right, because he knows there's an expansion, and he wants to punish that, obviously. If his own expansion is later, he wants to get in there and do some damage with his Reavers. But we do see this concave of Dragoons. There's no way he's pushing into this, and this is probably why Dewalt took the inside expansion, because it's easier to defend. As you can see, there's just no way to attack for that narrow choke point.
Yeah, I mean, it would be real difficult. Even actually trying to make a drop would be very risky, because there's a lot of area where you can at least maneuver around the Dragoons and try to snipe it. But it seems like Bonyth is not taking his natural for a very long time.
Yeah, he's actually going all in. He's going 3 gates, 2 Reaver, all in. And this favors Dewalt because, you know, he's going to be ahead now if he can just defend. And normally, this would be a very good idea from Bonyth. But because of the inside expansion, which Dewalt intelligently took, it's probably not a good idea. Otherwise, it would have been, in a normal situation on a normal map.
That makes a lot of sense. I am looking at something that I really like, that Dewalt has added even a few extra zealots, which I think are pretty good just to mess up the Reaver shots.
Right, I mean, once you get enough units of the same range, then you get diminishing returns because they can't all shoot at the same time. So if you mix in units with different range, you avoid that. Anyway, here we go, the Reaver's going to try to start sieging this down, and he needs to do a lot of damage here. He needs to micro very well, because he is behind economically. And we have a Reaver coming out even for Dewalt, so he needs to get in there and do damage fast with these Reavers. He doesn't have time to walk around like this.
But if he walks in, he's just gonna get completely sniped.
He needs to walk in, and then, oh no, this is one Reaver. Bad micro there. And he loses the shuttle too. Very bad micro here.
Yeah, unfortunately.
He needed.
I mean, walking into that concave just basically was... I don't think that was a good idea, regardless, even if we were trying to go for this kind of build. It's just the concave was really powerful, so...
Concave was good, but it wasn't that good. With better micro, he could have won the game right there. I'm telling you. He could have, you know, dropped the Reavers at max range, shoot 2 Scarabs, pick it up, walk back, and bait the opponent's Dragoons into either standing there and dying slowly, or running up and trying to snipe the Reaver, but you pulling back.
Ooh.
You know.
That's very good micro, actually.
Dewalt here. So Dewalt holds on with an economic advantage. Of course, Bonyth did expand behind it. Hasn't transferred yet. But if he can get that gas up, he'll have an advantage, since his expansion, although later, will be a superior expansion. But we have a 3rd base now from Dewalt. Anyway, as I was saying earlier, what you have to do with the Reavers is, you have to make your opponent come to you and then pull back, so that he walks into a trap and doesn't actually get the Reavers. Make him commit to a bad engagement. I mean, so you have to anticipate when your opponent's going to run forward and pull back.
I guess if you have the really high confidence in your Reaver micro, you can do that, but it does feel a little bit scary, because if you, at some point, are not microing correctly, you can just lose both Reavers and Shuttle.
But that's the matchup. You have to play.
Of course.
You have to take those risks. You know, and that's why it's all about the micro. It's like ZVZ. You have to dodge the Kite Scourge, you know? If you can't do it, you can't win. Because in this situation, he had to attack. You know, he can't just back off and play macro. You have the micro. Micro or die.
Actually, people in the chat are mentioning that because I'm slightly colorblind and it's yellow versus orange, I can't really tell the difference between the units on the map, so yeah, it's kind of difficult to see. At least I knew who had the Reavers, so that was good. But, I mean, the thing that I'm looking at right now, curiously enough, at least for me, yes, definitely Dewalt is getting a very, very high advantage as soon as he gets this, but there is a lot of dead space area to that natural that he's taking right now, so a drop with Reavers could get in and try to snipe something and get out. Well, on the other hand, I think that maybe as the Bonyth you can have a little bit more warning, and obviously this is a mineral only, so it will have less saturation, potentially. At least
well,
that's...
we're talking about drops.
Yep.
And luckily Bonyth is getting shuttle speed, which, you know, is his ticket to make a comeback here, because he is economically behind, so he needs to do something with the shuttle speed. And he's moving out now. He might try to go for the front fake out. You know, you position yourself at the front so your opponent reacts, then you go in for the back with the drop. But he just doesn't have the Dragoon count here.
Yeah, and so, even supply-wise it's not that bad, but there's a lot of Zealots being added already by Dewalt. And is there a Citadel already finished? I don't see it yet.
No, there is not.
That's actually a little bit interesting. Because
he keeps going for the slow Zealots. Yeah, he does that.
Oh, okay. Oh, the shuttle is going to the natural. The mineral only.
Oh, there we go. Oh, bad position to drop though.
Yeah.
But that's not... You want to drop them on the ramp. So
yeah, exactly. But so the way that they have to transfer through, basically, it's kind of...
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's risky to do that if you have a slow shuttle, but with the shuttle speed, it's really not that
you'll have the time to react, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that could have been a lot better.
I mean, although, to be fair, even if you get like one good shot, I don't think it's enough for Bonyth to
He's going to poke at the front now. He's going to try to snipe some units.
Oh.
Takes one Scarab to the face. Very bad.
Well, but at least saves both Reavers for now, so...
Right, so he doesn't lose a Reaver, just...
Yeah. And I have to say that the macro from Bonyth is slipping really badly. He's at 800 minerals.
Walt is macroing perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Bonyth hasn't transfer probes, is floating money, is close to being side locked. Here we go!
Oh.
Ah, loses a Reaver. That's really bad.
Yeah.
Like, when you have a shuttle, you should never lose a Reaver to another Reaver. Like that. That shouldn't happen.
And also getting some splash in his own units because of the other shot.
Alright, there we go. Dewalt trying to go for a snipe, Bonyth reacting.
Yeah, the transfer on the mineral only really starting to grind me, as well as the fact that it's only
Still
4 gateways.
Yeah, 4 gateways, you should have 3 or 4 per base. You should transfer immediately.
Oof.
Bonyth is struggling, and finally Dewalt has had enough. He's gonna go out there
And
just crush his Pioneer army. In the meantime, we have a drop going in to the main base.
yeah, but the army is going to get completely destroyed if he stays there. Okay, at least saves the
shuttle got sniped.
Oh. I missed that, but I was looking at the Dragoons, and a lot of the Dragoons were going down for Bonyth, at the same time losing all of Zealots. There's like only basically Dragoons and 1 Reaver left for Bonyth right now. And he's...
Bonyth in a very bad position.
Yeah.
Losing the frontal engagement and losing the harassment attempts.
I mean, in a way, there is like only a 30 APM disparity between these players, so it feels more than Dewalt is really on point where he should be microing or microing.
Yeah, exactly.
More than
he has
speed.
better APM management. He doesn't have more APM, but he's got better management
Yeah.
of APM.
And only adding now the extra gateways actually supply blocked Bonyth at 107. Oof.
Yeah, versus 145. So it looks like Dewalt may be trying to go for the final blow here.
But
He's got...
does he want to attack or does he want to contain at this position?
Nah, he should contain actually, because he doesn't have Reavers. I didn't see that, but he should definitely contain, which he is doing. He's playing well.
Yeah, and the observer
But
is
it's
also
10
scouting
now.
the main, so knows everything that's going on.
Yeah, the observer should be following the shuttle, see when it moves out, so that he can just contain and defend the drops. Because when you're contained, your only option is to drop.
Yeah.
Okay, we got our 1 Reaver now in the front for the Dewalt.
Okay,
Having to
so
contain.
I mean, okay, but 1 Reaver, I mean, it definitely can do what you were mentioning about trying to poke a little bit in and force the other opponent to bad engagement. But in this position, I think, yeah, what you mentioned is just basically better to contain and get more expansions yourself.
Yeah, which he's doing. And he's very intelligent in taking this expansion to the right, because if he gets cannons there, it's going to block off, you know, a drop path. Anyway, we have a drop now.
Yeah.
Bonyth reacting in the fur.
I mean, the interesting thing, though, once you get to 200-200, if neither of these players has Storm, then engagements can go either way, right?
If it's 200 versus 200, then sure, it's gonna be an even fight. But obviously, the Walt's gonna have a bigger back. So
yeah, the remax is definitely going to go into the Walt's favor. What I'm trying to say is that it seems like both players are staying on the same tech.
Okay. Oh, okay, we got Bonyth trying to break out now, while the Reaver was missing. That's very good, fortunate for him. But will it be enough? Not sure. One Reaver goes down.
Ooh, to a Zealot, no less. So
we have a lot of item units in the base for the Dewalt here, so Bonyth may actually manage to break out the contain here and take out the base. That's what he needs.
He actually got a really good trade, which you mentioned that, what, too many units, really not idle in the base. And actually the supplies are really close right now.
Yeah, they're very close. That was very fortunate for Bonyth. That's exactly what he needed, because the Reaver was trying to harass while he broke out. And there were units idling in the base of the Dewalt, so that's as good as it could have gone for him. And he's going to try to take the space out now. He's going to have to micro really well.
Not bad so far. But, oh, too many speed lots, I think.
Reaver.
Oh, and Storm as well.
Good Scarab goes off. Not a good Storm. So it looks like he's going to hold for now, which is really bad for Bonyth.
Yeah, and especially the one that, now that High Templar tech is out, especially Zealot Archon style, it completely will shut down Bonyth, because then the Reavers are not that efficient. They're good still, but the Archons basically can tank a good amount of shots, and they deal a lot of damage, so...
yeah, it's just too volatile to do the Reaver micro dance thing. We got a drop here. It's not gonna work. Cannon's gonna deny that. Anyway, and it's basically just, you know, 4 bases versus, what is it, 2? Okay, yeah. 3 bases. Fine.
I mean, still. The main thing I always really was interested about, because most Protoss players that I've seen playing in this tournament, they stick to this Dragoon, Zealot, maybe Reavers also, but basically that kind of style for a very long time. And it always felt to me that it's weird that they would like to do that instead of trying to add those High Templars and Archons a little bit earlier.
Right, well, that's a recent development in the matchup. People have been doing that because, first of all, people got better at using Reavers, so Templars no longer shot down Reavers the way they used to. People always talk about how, like, oh, Templars shot down Reavers, you know, Reavers suck up the Templars because you can storm the shuttle and the Reaver. But it's not the case if the micro's good enough, because you can dodge the storm, you can snipe units, you can snipe the Templar, and the Reaver in the speed shuttle is just such a toolbox. Oh, got a drop, by the way.
Yeah, see 3 Zealots though, so, I mean, the cannon probably will go down.
Cannon will go down, and, you know, it's just salting the wound of the guy who's already behind. Frontal attack at the same time. Looks like he's about to fall here because he's running out of money, simply. Anyway, the Reaver, basically, you can just snipe units, you can force backstabs or threaten backstabs, and if the player is just like passively going for Templars and sitting in his base, he doesn't have the opportunity to do anything. But the guy with the Reaver has the opportunity to snipe units at the front, you know, do a multi-front attack and go in the back. It's just so much better for an active player, you know. So sticking on Dragoon Reaver for a longer time has proven to be better at higher level as the game has evolved.
No, I see definitely, especially with we've seen a few Reaver. Okay, this is actually interesting. Now it seems that it's Bonyth who's pushing the Dewalt back.
We got. I'm not sure why he keeps winning this fight. He shouldn't be. Like, I saw some item units in the base again of the Dewalt, but unfortunately it doesn't matter because he can't take out the space. Reinforcements do arrive now. There is a Templar there, and if he can't take out the space, well, he's got his own base at the 6 o'clock now. So maybe he can make a comeback with like a good storm drop or something, possibly. Or if he catches the opponent's army out of position.
Oh, look at the shuttle.
Oh, the shuttle. By the way, but it's gonna snipe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're behind, you cannot afford to make mistakes like that. You need to micro perfectly. You know, we may actually have been able to win this game had he saved those Reavers, because he's kind of winning the fight.
Yeah.
And with those Reavers, he could have sieged down the base and taken it out and maybe made a comeback. But as it is, he's gonna continue playing this slugfest.
Yeah, I mean, neither of these players is controlling the army perfectly. Both of them are kind of making small, weird moves that either end up working or not. But the main problem, I think, basically, Bonyth is... The shuttle control was good, but I think the Dewalt basically had all the understanding in the world to know exactly where to pick it up, how to pick those Reavers really fast. So, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is... What you mentioned about the staying with the Reavers for longer, because you can have more control. So doesn't that work also against you if your opponent is very good, because they can actually snipe it easier? You know,
yeah, it's a very volatile matchup when you play that way, and it is the best way to play if you can do it. because he can snipe your Reavers and then all of a sudden you're dead, basically, as we saw happen a few times in this game. So basically, as it turns out, the best way to play this matchup is a very volatile, very difficult to master style, basically. And people actually, as we can see Dewalt doing, Reavers are actually good the entire game. A lot of mid-level, lower-level players think that Reavers get obsolete, but they actually stay good the entire game. Because you can always drop them and snipe some units, snipe a Templar, snap a Goon. It never changes. Even when you're maxed, you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I just think that what you mentioned is that basically once you get to a certain point where you really need very, very high skill to be able to control that many things. So, yeah, and maybe that's why I don't see it that way, because I don't have enough of a speed or enough of a multitasking to keep up with all of these things. But yeah, makes sense. Okay, so the Dewalt is going to try to pressure the 4th, and to be honest, I think it's going to die.
Got a good side advantage here. So this may be the final battle, and looks like the Dewalt is going to take it. Good storm going off in the Dragoons. Decent Scarabs going off for the Dewalt. And he's just got more units, and then, another good storm.
Ooh.
Overkill.
I mean,
all the probes went down.
There's like surrounds from both players all the time, so, but yeah, the Dewalt basically has much more army, so this is gonna be relatively cleaned up, and at the same time the 4th is also falling, so... Yeah. Okay, it kind of seems like the Dewalt has taken the first one. I mean, there's pretty much nothing really.
This game... Obviously, the Dewalt had the advantage. Well, I mean, I can't say that, because the advantage spawned back like 10 times in this game, but for a while, after things stabilized, basically, he had the advantage, is what I'm saying. But Bonyth still had the chance to come back. But, a couple of micro mistakes kept that from happening. I think what happened was, he dropped the Reavers, went to macro, and during that, second when he went to macro, I think that the Dewalt used the opportunity to come in and snipe.
Yeah,
shut up.
I mean... Most likely. The only thing that actually I was wondering at the same time while all of this was happening, if you know that you don't have maybe the cleanest APM usage, then it's, I think, better, right, to choose something a little bit different so that you can actually, I don't know, go to macro a little bit, then go back to the production and everything else.
Yeah, you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew. You shouldn't drop your Reavers at the front and go back to macro. Unless you're Isu. You should drop them in the back, so that if you mess up, it's okay, they're only in the back.
Yeah, okay. So,
don't try to beat them if you can't.
Okay, so the first game that goes to the Dewalt, and I would say that, definitely what you mentioned, that there was potential for comeback, so I wouldn't say that it was too one-sided, but...
Hell no. It was a close game.
Yeah. Okay, so the second